West Bank, you can open a personal checking account through the mail. We'll do whatever it takes. We can actually get you started by fax or phone, even cellular phone.
Used, this book gets used. It is the one that's really used. Used, sometimes abused, but still the one that's reused. Used, the one reused.
It's the one that gets used. U.S. West Direct.
That's why it's still a run.
Three teams went into this evening with at least a chance to clinch a tie for their division titles in the major leagues. The Oakland A's hope to earn that tie that would bind the American League West title to them for the second straight year as they played at home tonight against the Texas Rangers. And things looking good for them in the early going. Bob Welch pitching strongly, strikes out American League RBI leader Ruben Sierra. And he gets run support when Dave Henderson connects for his 14th home run of the year. The two-run shot scored Dave Parker in front of it. The A's take a 2-1 lead. Todd Burns trying to protect that 2-1 advantage in the 8th to Fred Manrique. Manrique hits one off the foul pole, in this case fair pole. Two-run homer. The Rangers beat the A's and hold off the A's chances to clinch, beating them 3-2. Boston winner over New York. In that game, Wade Boggs picked up his 200th hit. He has now picked up 200 hits in 7 consecutive seasons, the first player in this century to do that. Other American League games, Toronto shut out Detroit. Baltimore stayed 1 game behind the Blue Jays by beating Milwaukee. In one other contest, Chicago, a big winner over Minnesota. In the National League, the Cubs also faced an opportunity to tie for the title, and Andre Dawson with a drive to center field. Dave Martinez of the Expos comes over. He makes the catch on the run, but watch this. Martinez will roll, fall, hurt his shoulder on the play, and then collapse again to the turf. Now, the whole time Dawson kept running the bases, the umpire ruled that Martinez got up and was not prepared to voluntarily release the ball. So he called it an inside-the-park homer. Buck Rogers argued, but the argument would end in the 10th inning because the Expos would come up with the game-winning hit. Jim Dwyer drives in Rex Hudler, and the Expos stopped the Cubs by a final of 4-3. St. Louis a loser at Pittsburgh, so Chicago still with a magic number of 2. Other games in the National League, San Francisco falls to the Dodgers, but Cincinnati beat San Diego, so the Giants do have a tie for their division title. They'll have to try to win it tomorrow. Other National League games, Atlanta over Houston, Philadelphia a winner over the Mets. He already holds the club record for hits, runs, home runs, and runs batted in, and this season Alvin Davis pursues a level he has never reached. The Mariner first baseman attempts to become only the 6th player in club history to hit 300. In his 6th year with the Mariners, Alvin Davis has posted career highs in batting average and walks, and for several days during the month of August, he led the American League in hitting.
If there's anything that I think is contributing to it, probably a little good fortune and knowing the league a little bit better. But you know, I've seen some hits that have gone through holes or some balls that have fallen in that maybe I haven't gotten in the past, and knowing the pitchers maybe helps a little bit.
Despite a recent slump, Alvin is still hitting .304. He shares the team RBI lead with 88, ranked 2nd in homers and runs scored. That despite the fact that opponents pitch around him. He has walked 100 times this season, 18 of those intentionally. While ranking among the league leaders in several offensive categories, Alvin often doesn't receive the recognition he deserves.
Well, you know, every once in a while you like to hear your name thrown around, you know, especially when people are throwing names around. It's not that you want anybody just to point you out necessarily, but, you know, you just want your name to be mentioned now and again. And I also realize that when we win, we'll start to get recognition on a national basis. But I guess right now as a team, we haven't earned it, so why should you expect it as an individual?
Prior to this season, Alvin became the highest-paid Mariner, signing a deal that pays him nearly $5 million, including incentives, over the next 3 years. With the security of that deal in hand, Alvin certainly didn't become complacent.
You know, I always have some incentive to keep pushing because I'm really a self-driven, self-motivated type of person. I'm not motivated by my paychecks.
And as he prepares for the final few work days of this season, Alvin says his goals won't change.
You know, I'd like to continue to drive in some big runs to help the ball club win and continue to be just a positive force in our clubhouse, keep the guys on their toes, and keep them pushing from here on out. Davis and the Mariners open a 6-game homestand to complete their season, hosting Cleveland and Minnesota.
In Monday Night Football action, Cincinnati defeated Cleveland, handing the Browns their first loss of the year. As we take a look at highlights tonight from the jungle in Cincinnati. It was 7-0 Bengals when watch the great play by Eric Metcalf on the pass from Bernie Kosar. He ties the game up in the second quarter for Cleveland 7-7. But Boomer Esiason would come right back with a touchdown pass to Rodney Holman. It was a second strike to Holman tonight. Esiason hit him on this play to make it 14-7. Esiason also threw a game-winning touchdown pass to James Brooks. And Cincinnati's defense twice held Cleveland on fourth down situations late. As they pick up the victory, both teams now 2-1 in the same division.
And what a jungle it was.
And it was a good game.
Thank you very much, Bob. Investigators of a recent plane crash say they are starting to just scratch the surface as they go over the wreckage with a fine-tooth comb. And the nation bids a fond farewell to the last of its kind.
By day, the temperature hovers at 260 degrees Fahrenheit. By night, it drops to 280 below.
You got it?
Inside, however, the temperature remains at an even 72 degrees, no matter what it's like on the outside.
Be very comfortable and walking.
Slightly closer to home, we offer the even comfort of the heat pump. Contact your local H-Pro dealer.
Now's the time to get your home heating costs down to earth with this special offer. A heat pump can replace an inefficient system or be added to your existing gas, oil, or electric furnace. Best of all, buy now, and as a Pacific Power customer, you'll receive your choice of low 8.9% financing or this 4.5-inch Magnavox Space Saver TV. For details, see your H Pro dealer or the people at Pacific Power. But hurry, this special offer ends November 30th.
How does your bank react when you ask for a home equity loan? All-day banking? Free checking? How about a mortgage loan? Line of credit? Won't even listen, huh? Bet they don't even know your name. Must drive you clean out of your tree. Well, if we were you, pal, we'd bank with us.
Some of the nation's leaders are cutting a tentative drug deal. Senate Democrats and the White House have worked out their differences, apparently, concerning funding the war on drugs. The compromise was reached this afternoon. It calls for $8.8 billion to cut down on narcotic use in this country. That's $900 million more than President Bush was asking for during his drug-fighting strategy plan. Some of the money will come from cuts in other government programs. Opponents to this extensive funding fear it will cause a substantial tax increase. Now, speaking of making a deal, George Bush made his first speech before the United Nations as President of the U.S. today. And in a bold move, the president offered to destroy 80% of all of our chemical weapons stockpile if the Soviets would agree to do the same. Bush also said the U.S. would destroy all of our chemical weapons over the course of the next 10 years if all nations would agree to a total ban. The U.S. and the Soviet Union are the only two countries that admittedly have chemical weapons, but possibly another dozen nations have factories that could make the deadly concoctions. The question of criminal charges remains hidden in the wreckage of a U.S. Air DC-10. The jet ran off the runway and crashed into a river last week at LaGuardia Airport in New York. 2 people were killed and several others were injured. Investigators are trying to find out why the crew aborted the takeoff.
The nose of the destroyed 737 jetliner was loaded onto a flatbed. The future of the last people to sit in the cockpit of that plane was being decided. The licenses to fly of both the pilot and co-pilot are suspended, and now the FAA will decide if either man will ever fly again. And the Queens District Attorney is gathering information now to present to a grand jury, which will decide if the two should be charged with vehicular manslaughter or leaving the scene of an accident or other crimes.
There's absolutely no basis for any kind of a criminal action against them. And I believe from everything that I know, there was no wrongdoing by the pilots.
And while some are asking if either the pilot or co-pilot should ever be allowed to fly again, the pilot's lawyer wants that question answered, and answered quickly.
At this point, they are going to pursue the regulatory procedures in order to have their licenses reinstated to them, because they believe they are fully entitled to have their licenses reinstated to them.
Investigators say that when they pulled the plane from the water, the front wheel of the 737 was locked, turned sharply to the right. The pilot's final attempt, apparently, to counter the plane's drifting to the left on the runway.
Now, the pilot Michael Martin and the co-pilot Konstantin Klassis refused to comment on the crash. This is the end of an era for NASA. Today, the space agency launched its last unmanned rocket from Cape Canaveral, Florida. The Atlantis Centaur rocket vaulted skyward without a hitch. This rocket will deploy a military communications satellite. From now on, all unmanned rockets will be launched by private industries. Currently, 3 such companies are qualified to start doing so. Public television promises more provocative programming, but not without a dip into the pocketbook. Stay with us.
If you've been thinking about a new 1989 Ford, here's a tip. They're not making them anymore. You see, before long, the new 1990 Fords will be rolling into the Northwest. But your Ford dealer still has plenty of 89s. So they're offering great clearance prices on everything, from Escorts to Tauruses to the full line of Ford trucks. If you hurry, you really could save a bundle, because while they're not making the 89s anymore, they sure are selling them at your local Northwest Ford dealer.
It seems like banks are always offering incentives to get you to do business with them. The only problem is that most are things you just don't want, or you already have. But when you open a First Interstate checking account with other qualifying services, we'll give you something special. That's right, you'll get a coupon worth 2 tickets for the price of 1 on Alaska Airlines or Horizon Air. Come into First Interstate and ask for details.
In the land of Dairy Queen, we treat you right.
This week, there's real value in the land of Dairy Queen. It's our home-style burger on sale for just 99 cents. You get a juicy home-style patty, fresh lettuce and tomato, all for only 99 cents. The 99-cent Dairy Queen Brazier Burger Sale, now at your participating Dairy Queen Brazier store.
In the land of Dairy Queen, we treat you right.
Public television station KYVE Channel 47 has received a $77,000 grant from the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. That's a mouthful. The only catch is that KYVE's board of directors will have to match the amount in order to cash in. Today, board members met with the media and explained how they intend to match the grant. Honorary Chairperson Bill Robertson will provide leadership and support for KYVE's Capital Fund Drive. The grant will be used to purchase new equipment in order to produce local primetime programming. It's going to be a nice addition for our community to have that. Thank you for joining us. Have a nice night. We'll see you back tomorrow at 5:30. Good night.
Good night.